president-elect left Springfield, Illinois for a 12-day, 5-state trip. Destination, Washington City. An eventual inauguration. On February the 22nd, 1861, however, Abraham Lincoln stood before Independence Hall in Philadelphia and delivered a speech. His appearance and oration belied concern. However, the evening before, he had been warned by an agent that his life was in danger. Federal agent Harry Davies, alias Joe Howard of Louisiana, infiltrated a group known as the Blood Tubs and reported they were going to assassinate the president when he switched from one train to another in Baltimore. Within, the assassin was selected by drawing a straw with a red end. Little did the members know that 8 had been reddened to increase the chances for success. The attack was to come as the horse-drawn train car was being pulled from the Calvert Street station to the Camden Street station. En route, the Blood Tubs would create a disturbance, and with attention diverted, the appointed assassins would strike. Their leader, Italian barber Captain Cipriano Ferrandini, boasted, "In a week from today, the North shall want another president, for Lincoln will be a corpse." Agent Davies' warning was reinforced when a congressional investigating committee reported much of the same details to Lincoln. With 2 alerts from separate sources, Lincoln agreed to leave Philadelphia the night of the 22nd, earlier than scheduled. To cover his departure, all the telegraph lines from Harrisburg to Philadelphia were cut. For increased security, an agent was planted on the rear platform of the presidential train as it sped through the night. Over 200 security guards and other agents stood guard at every bridge and crossing where a raised lantern at each meant all was well. They arrived in Baltimore at 3:30 in the morning. The transfer through the city went without incident, and at 6 a.m., Abraham Lincoln unceremoniously but safely entered Washington City. Upon arrival, he announced, "Well, boys, thank God this prayer meeting is over." The would-be assassins in Baltimore were left frustrated and skipped town. In late April of 1861, Lincoln called the mastermind of those agents to Washington City and asked him to form a government secret service. It was not the first time this nation, while at war, called for such an organization. George Washington advanced $17,000 of his own money to finance espionage and counter-espionage. Nathan Hale was one who got caught in that network created by the commanding general of the Continental Army. Although there was little activity in the War of 1812, during the Mexican War, activity increased. For example, Major General Winfield Scott hired Manuel Dominguez, a Mexican national and highwayman, to recruit countrymen to work for the Americans. Scott referred to them as his spy company. Then, spying and intelligence gathering was nothing like the intrigue and technology of today. There was no intelligence staff, no trained espionage corps. Like the non-professional volunteer soldier, spying was done by amateurs. Quite honestly, many believe spying dishonorable. Perhaps, yes, but during the Civil War, it certainly was made easier, for each side spoke the same language, practiced a similar moral code, and possessed a mutual history. All knew the geography. The skills required were daring, bravery, resourcefulness, and luck. Yet getting the info was one thing, channeling it was another. And even in proper hands, analyzing and interpreting it were entirely different matters. At an even higher level, someone had to devise a strategic or tactical plan based upon the analysis. The North's first attempt at such an organization came from the man who saved Lincoln from assassination, Allan Pinkerton. Born in Glasgow, he was the 10-year-old son of a police sergeant who was crippled by injuries sustained in a workers' riot. As an adult, Allan Pinkerton went on to become a barrel maker's apprentice. Eventually, he moved to Dundee, Illinois, a place where Scots had settled, and made a village on the Fox River. There, the young Pinkerton became a barrel maker. Once, while cutting wood along the Fox River, he spotted a hideout which sheltered counterfeiters. He led a group back to the site and helped to nab the whole bunch. The experience was exhilarating, and in reward, in 1846, he found himself deputy sheriff for his home county. Not long after, he became sheriff of Cook County. And later he served on the first detective force sponsored by the Chicago police. In 1850, Pinkerton started his own detective agency specializing in railroad security. It was he who learned of the Blood Tubs plot. Within that group, it was he who planted Agent Harry Davies, who, as we mentioned earlier, used the alias Joe Howard from Louisiana. Pinkerton even met the group's leader, Captain Ferrandini, and assured of their serious intent, personally carried the news of the plot to Lincoln the night before his Independence Hall speech in Philadelphia. Though he was enticed to aid the president in his creation of a secret service, the timing wasn't right, so he returned to Chicago, where he was then contacted by a former chief engineer of the Illinois Central and former president of the Ohio and Mississippi Railroad, George Brenton McClellan. On July the 27th, 1861, Allan Pinkerton arrived in Washington City as a member of McClellan's staff.